Hi, my name's Jeanie. Welcome to my channel. I am living with multiple myeloma, and last year I had breast cancer too. Living with cancer is incredibly tough, no matter what kind you have. But for me, one of the hardest parts, one of the most invisible parts, is dealing with the fatigue that comes with a cancer diagnosis. But before I go any further, I am not a doctor. Please do not take anything I say as medical advice. Always consult your doctor. This is just my experience of coping with the fatigue that comes with a cancer diagnosis. When I say fatigue, I'm not talking about I didn't get enough sleep last night or I worked too hard in the yard. I'm talking about the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones that makes living with cancer seem insurmountable. For some people, fatigue hits before they've even been diagnosed. You wake up in the morning feeling like your battery has been depleted overnight. By mid-afternoon, you feel like roadkill. You feel like you are walking through molasses while everybody else is just carrying on with their normal lives. You chalk it up to stress or age or not enough coffee. But when you hear the words, "you have cancer," you realize that your body was trying to tell you that something was very wrong. And before you've even had a chance to process your new reality, treatment begins. Chemo, radiation, surgery, in some cases a stem cell transplant. Of course, not everybody has chemo, but for those of us that do, the side effects are nasty. Some people experience neuropathy, vomiting, nausea, mouth sores, gastrointestinal problems, sleep disturbance, so many others. But the most common symptom by far is fatigue. And that's because chemo doesn't just attack your cancer cells, it attacks your healthy cells too. Cancer cells act like metabolic thieves, stealing energy from your healthy cells. They draw your body into a never-ending, invisible war. As I mentioned, I have multiple myeloma. When I was first diagnosed, I underwent 4 months of what they call induction chemo. And that was followed up by a stem cell transplant. The transplant is designed to give your body a reset. It's an incredible process. It wipes the slate clean, but it's also the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. By far. I am fortunate enough to live within half an hour of one of the best hospitals in the world with one of the best cancer units in the world. And I don't ever take that for granted. First, they harvested my stem cells, and then they destroyed my old damaged bone marrow with high-dose chemotherapy. This conditioning chemo is some of the strongest medicine you can take, and it leaves you feeling completely depleted. After that, I had to go in almost every day to the hospital for about 4 hours. The hospital no longer does the stem cell transplant on an inpatient basis. They believe that the risk of infection is much lower if you go home than if you stay in the hospital 24/7. But some cancer units still do it on an inpatient basis. I'm not qualified to say which is better. During those 4 hours, I was usually given saline, sometimes platelets, sometimes red blood cells. But most of the time, we try to figure out a way to help me with the nausea. I was nauseous every single moment of the day. Unfortunately, we really didn't find anything that worked, and I lost 30 pounds in a matter of weeks. A funny anecdote, when they reinfuse those stem cells, the reagent that's used to preserve them makes you smell like creamed sweet corn. You can't smell it on yourself, but apparently it is extremely strong. We had to wait for an empty elevator to take us down to the car park, and my poor sister drove home with a mask on, trying very hard not to throw up. And my husband said the entire house reeked of sweet corn. Anyway, for weeks I lived in a body that felt like I'd just run out of fuel. I have never slept so much in my life. Some days I was too weak to even stand and I needed to have a wheelchair. I thought the brain fog that came with chemo was bad. The stem cell transplant put that on an entirely different level. I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't retain information. I couldn't follow simple instructions. It was crazy. Before my diagnosis, my days were filled with meetings and Zoom calls and chores and errands. But during and after the stem cell transplant, my life was measured in much smaller steps. Am I going to be able to shower on my own? Can I stand on my own 2 feet? Can I stomach a little bit of watermelon, a few blueberries, a cookie? Thankfully, I got stronger week by week, month by month. Of course, not all patients get a stem cell transplant, but no matter what your treatment plan looks like, there is one thing that we all have in common. Our fatigue is invisible. You look fine. People say you look great. And I'm thinking, I am drowning in quicksand. Sometimes family and friends say things like, maybe you just need to get some more sleep. Have you tried exercise? I think you might need some vitamins. People mean well, they really do. But the fatigue that comes with cancer is not going to be fixed with a multivitamin or a nap. Because the truth is, there is no simple solution. There is no magic pill. But over the last 18 months, I have found several ways that have worked for me. Maybe they can work for you too. I have learned to limit the amount of news and social media that I consume. Worrying about something awful that's happening on the other side of the world doesn't make it any better. It doesn't change things. All it does is sap your energy. When it comes to meals, plan for fatigue. I work full-time, and there are days where by 5 o'clock, I do not have it in me to cook. So on a weekend, if I have a little extra energy, I cook some bulk freezer meals. I cook protein-rich soups and freeze them. I assemble and freeze smoothies. Let go of less important chores without apology. Does it really matter if the vacuuming gets done in 3 days' time or a week's time? And if somebody comes into your home and judges you, they're not your friend. Fatigue doesn't mean that you're lazy. Your body is working harder to heal and recover than it's ever had to work before. Give it the space to do that. I know it's not easy, but ask for help. People want to help. They want to support you, and a lot of the time they don't know how. Give yourself permission to accept this new, slower pace because it's where you are right now. Your exhaustion is real, it's valid, and it's not your fault. Fatigue may shape your day, but it does not define who you are. The exhaustion you feel is not the end of you. It is a chapter. It is a season of life, a very difficult season of life. So if you're listening now and you are barely able to lift your head off the pillow, if you are wondering if anyone understands how you feel, know that you are not alone. I truly hope that you heal and that you get stronger. And until then, be kind to yourself. That's all I have for this week. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. It does not cost you a cent, but it does help me reach more people who are living with cancer. Thank you.